to the cloud. Okay, so it is now time to start the meeting for the Downtown Estacada Commission. It is 1:33 p.m. on Thursday, May 13th, 2021. I will now take roll. So just, I won't go through this. There's Connie Redmond, Bennett Johnson, and Tanley Spencer. And hopefully some others will be joining us. I do not see anyone else present from outside of the commission. And I think you guys hopefully all saw the email from Matt, since you're here and you have the right Zoom link, but Matt's not able to attend today. So he will just be watching this webinar afterwards, taking the minutes, and then also kind of taking an inventory of what we've discussed in our SWOT analysis and the beginning of the visioning process here. With that, it looks like, oh, Jenny's in the wait room. She's connecting. Sorry, this is my first time having to deal with waiting rooms, so it will be a little junky, but Connie, can you give us an update on the 4th of July parade?
Yep, glad to. Everything is moving along. We have the parade application into the city. The school's been contacted. They're fine with us using their facilities for staging. Our theme is dancing in the Estacada school district. Porta potties are being reserved. I have my stagers in place. What I need to line up next would be judges for each category. And I like to have 2 or 3 judges for each category. So I'll probably be getting a message out about that. I've got a message into Peak Trophy for the ribbons. I have the color guard lined up, the traffic control cones reserved. Kim has done a great job on the flyer. We're waiting to get a little bit of information from folks to finalize that, but hopefully we'll get that out by the end of next week. The application form is done and it's posted on the city. There's been an article in the Estacada News about it. Rob Gaskell said we can use the funeral home parking lot. I do need to get volunteers for the registration check-in, and again, I'll be sending out a message to folks, just kind of giving, since there's so many new people, giving them an idea of the time commitment and what's needed at the registration. So really, we're just right on track for everything. So yeah, that's it.
Great, thank you, Connie. I know you make it look so easy, but I know there's a lot of work that goes into that. So
well, we've been doing this for a few years, so it really is kind of just checking the block. So,
yeah.
Thank you, though. Thank you.
Great. So next, and I didn't put this on the agenda because I still don't know the technicalities on things, but Matt had sent around our minutes from our previous meeting. And I think technically we are supposed to approve those minutes. Has anyone in this group had a chance to review those minutes? Yes? Okay. Okay, great. So if somebody could just make a motion to, oh, sorry, what's that, Tanley? Yeah. Oh.
I was just saying I looked at them too.
Okay, great. So if somebody could just make an emotion to approve the minutes from the May 5th meeting.
I make a motion to approve as written.
And I get a second. Okay.
I connect second.
Okay. All right. So I have a first and second. So those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 And all of those opposed? Taylor, I'm assuming that you're there. I don't think I can hear you, but we're going to assume that everyone said aye for that one. So motion passes, minutes approved. Thank you. So next, right, move this along quickly. Not to throw this into your hands quickly here, Bennett, but the main reason why we're here is obviously to kind of go over our SWOT analysis for the commission, and to begin the visioning process. So Bennett, unless you need more of an introduction, it is all yours.
Okay, so I'm going to apologize for my technology right now because my husband has all this equipment and I chose not to have him use it. And so next time, if we're still relegated to Zoom, I will have him do that. Because the other thing I noticed is that I decided to, I didn't get the part that Matt was going to come today. And so I was going to have him keep these records digitally, but then I was going to do the old school, right? Well, it's backwards. And I forgot that that would happen. And I don't actually know how to reverse that. So next time, hopefully this will be a little bit more like we're all in the room together. But I'm going to go ahead and continue to do it old school because we need to have the record of what ideas you guys come up with. And so once we get all of that down on poster board, which you may not be able to see very well, then I will type that up and send it out to Matt, who can then disseminate it to the rest of the group. So a couple of things I wanted to do to set this up is one, I think I got this Margaret Mead quote out of the Main Street material. And she said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." And just in my time in Estacada and working with the chamber and working with nonprofits and other organizations, that has certainly always proven to be the case, that people, once they set their mind to something, they can achieve pretty amazing things. And having listened to the conversations that we've already had since I've been a member, I'm pretty impressed with this group and what I think we can achieve. And I don't know if you guys went to the city council meeting on Monday, a couple of days ago, but Justin Gates had attended our meeting and he came out and said, "You know what, I'm really impressed with what these guys are doing. They're setting goals and they're taking a step back and looking at this big picture." And so people are noticing. So I wanted to talk about the parameters because it's at some point, what I'm hoping is that somebody can kind of sit me down and historically tell me what the DEC and before that the EDA, Downtown Estacada Development Association, EDA, what things are, have been achieved, what brick and mortar things have been achieved, what other things are in place as a result of the work of that committee. Because at the end of the day, we're all super busy, right? And so we want to see some sort of tangible results of our enormous effort here. And we don't want to get together every week or every month and have a bunch of meetings that at, a year or two later, we're saying, well, what do we got as a result of all that time? So that's what this planning process is for. The main thing that I keep saying over and over again is that the planning process helps you decide what to do with your very limited resources, how to allocate those very limited resources. So one thing that I did a little bit of research on was what area is our group actually involved in terms of Main Street. And so just a show of hands, in fact, you know what? Everybody should just unmute unless you have a reason to mute so that you can just jump in there. Or if you have barking dogs in the background, you might want to think about muting, but otherwise, this is an open conversation and we don't have so many people that we actually need to mute. So, do you guys know what the specific area is that this Main Street program is designated to deal with? Have you seen that map?
Bennett, are you talking about the four the promotions and the economic vitality.
I'm talking about, okay, so what the question I asked Matt was, what is the area? Because the documents that I've been looking at refer to economic, Estacada downtown.
I should turn mine down.
And that is a very specific, very identified area as far as the city is concerned. Do you guys know what that is? Because I do now, but I'm asking you whether or not you have been made aware of that.
I mean, do you mean like specifically like which parts of our downtown? Or, I mean, I guess, okay, because I mean, I know that like some parts are like historic streets, but so no, I guess not.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I do not remember being recall being introduced to the actual zones of what's defined as downtown.
Okay, then I'm going to ask Matt to send that to you because it's very specific. And so, unless the city council tells us to extend that, we're really dealing with a pretty limited area. It's the, core downtown Main Street, I think over to where the post office is, and then it goes up a little ways and it goes over the highway just a tinge. And so, and that's it. That's our place that we're supposed to be dealing with. And so again, I think that that's really important information because if we start talking about, Wade Creek and the library and all that, that stuff's not in the area that we're supposed to be dealing with. And so, so I'll ask him to email that map to everybody. But so that's one of the parameters. Another thing that we talked about is that in the Main Street documents, they recommend that we stick with 1 or 2 goals per year. Or actually not even per year, 1 or 2 goals to accomplish those goals and then move on to the next thing and not try to set, 6 or even 3, they recommend against that. And so we're talking about big visioning, which is what we're going to start today, but small goals, because they say over and over and over again in that literature, that if you build on small goals, then you're more likely to achieve what you're trying to achieve than if you start out with something that you don't have the resources and don't have the ability to achieve. So another thing is alignment. And the reason I want to bring that up is because the city of Estacada has goals, but they don't actually have their own business plan. And I've been kicking, trying to get them to do that work for a long time. And I'm hoping that they will actually look at what we accomplish here and get, religion on that. But whenever they do it, we need to make sure that that whatever we decide we're going to do is aligned to what they come up with. So we can't be operating over here in our own little vacuum. We need to be aligned to whatever what the city is trying to accomplish. And one of the reasons that is important, there's a pro and a con to being a city commission versus a separate nonprofit. A separate nonprofit, you can do whatever the heck you want to. City commission comes with more rules, but a lot of these Main Street groups spend a huge amount of time just trying to fund themselves, particularly if they have hired staff. And so they're spending all kinds of time doing events and all kinds of things to try and raise money in order to be self-sufficient. Whereas if you're a government organization, back to the alignment, it's a possibility that we may be able to go to the city council every year and say, hey, here's some things that we want to accomplish in downtown. We need a budget for that. And we may be able to access taxpayer dollars in order to accomplish things. So it's kind of I think in my own, spent quite a bit of time thinking about this. I think actually being a commission, a city commission, is probably in our best interest and gives us a little bit more horsepower than if we were a nonprofit trying to survive as a nonprofit. And then the last thing is that again, we are the way that the mainstream program is outlined is that our main focus is economic development and historical preservation. And so now we may choose that how economic development is accomplished may be a number of different ways. And but those are the things that we're going to be discussing here is how do you actually achieve economic development? What is the best bang for the buck for doing that? And historical preservation, I don't actually know, since I'm the newest of the new, whether or not you guys have ever even discussed the historical preservation aspect of the Main Street program. Anybody? Not really?
I don't recall, I don't recall a big focus on that.
Mhm.
I think as far as historical preservation, when we did do any kind of facade improvement, we were
Yeah.
conscious of not making it look too modern, but as far as historical, and all that, I don't recall a lot of that discussion.
So here's the beauty of all that is that the Main Street program, I told you guys last time, I read everything and I was a little bit surprised at how impressed I was with that format and with some of the ideas that literature floated. But then I looked at what the city has charged us with, and it's not like it's disconnected. It's just kind of like they didn't exactly read all the Main Street stuff before they put together that charge. And so what they say is they want us to be responsible for the 4th of July parade, which everybody loves, and one other event during the course of the year. And they want us to follow the Main Street program, but they don't really give us very many guidelines about that. And so when we're looking at how we align with the Main Street guidelines, we're a very specific town. We have our own, our own quirks and whatever. So we may choose that historic preservation is not a main focus for us and that economic development really is the main focus for us. We may choose to make economic development more front and center to historic preservation. And historic preservation maybe doesn't even show up as one of the goals that we select. So we have that latitude within it. But as far as the Main Street documents are concerned, those are the two areas of focus. So, okay. So any questions so far before we launch into the strategic or the SWOT analysis? No? Okay. So, so the reason for the SWOT analysis, in my mind, is particularly for a newer organization or even older organizations, is just to get people talking about the things that we're going to need to consider when we're putting together the strategic plan. And so this is a really, in my mind, a really easy way to sort of get front and center some of the things that we're going to be grappling with. So SWOT, everybody knows, is strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat. And so I'm going to be writing these things down backwards so that you can't possibly read them. But these are kind of going to be my notes. And so anyway, there you go. So
Bennett, really quick, sorry, to take off some of the pressure of you taking all the notes. I can be typing notes while you're
I think
while we're
that'd be
speaking
great.
as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm still
And then-
going to do
and then-
this because that's what I'm going to read in
Okay.
order to, because I like to go back and forth when somebody says, particularly with strength and opportunity, sometimes those things have a tendency to overlap each other. And so I'm going to go ahead and do this old school stuff. I work for a tech company, and every time I do one of these things for them, they're always like, oh, we don't do poster board. We do like all this really high tech stuff but then I get sick of waiting for them to navigate from screen to screen. And so that's why I still stick with my paper and my marker. So anyway, okay, so everybody puts on their thinking caps. And so what we're talking about is not this group, but we're talking about the city, the downtown core of Estacada. So what do you think are some of the strengths of the downtown core of Estacada?
Did you also, Bennett, get notes from us who emailed about these things already since our last meeting?
No, because
No, sorry. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, Jenny. I think there was a little bit of confusion about what those notes were meant for. I was compiling them and going to be kind of sending them off to
the chamber.
to the chamber. And so if you could kind of, I could pull up your notes, or if you want to contribute what you had said, because I know you outlined yours as the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. We can throw those out in this conversation.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
But
I
if
need
you
to
don't have
find
those
it.
up for reference.
Yeah.
Yeah, nope, I've got them up here too. Sorry, now I gotta pull them up really quick here.
It's okay. I can pull up my stuff and contribute as we go through the different sections. It's totally fine.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, and sorry about that, asking you guys to do homework and not making it clear on what the end goal was there, so. Okay, so the question, Bennett, was what are the strengths of our downtown area?
Yes.
Okay. And let's see here, I know yep, Connie. Connie.
I think over the years, I've seen that we've been growing. We still have a couple spots that are empty, but we've had a lot of new businesses come in. The food carts. I don't think we've been stagnant. We haven't maybe grown as fast as we had hoped, but I think we're growing. We're filling up empty spaces.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Jenny.
Strong art community. Do you want me to list? I have like 4 of them.
Sure.
Okay. Migration from urban to rural.
And what do you mean by that?
I mean, the sort of flight that's happening from the city to small suburbs around Portland.
Yeah.
And another one I have is strong, diverse availability of homegrown and homestead products. So farming and then the last thing I have is a local pride and shared value to support local.
Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody else?
I think we have a very aesthetically pleasing, what we always refer to as Main Street, but really Broadway Street. That project, I think, was really well executed.
I think we have a very, I've said this disclaimer before. So I'm your facilitator, but I'm also a participant. So now I'm a participant. I think we have an accessible city government. So particularly city council, mayor, they're accessible to us.
Accessible, and they've been very supportive.
Yeah, and support.
Other ideas? Tanley, Taylor, Julie, got anything you want to throw in?
I feel like our businesses downtown are becoming more diverse.
And when you say diverse, are you talking about like kind of demographic, who owns the businesses, or the types of businesses?
I feel like we have a ton of women-owned businesses, which is really cool. And then I also feel like we have new businesses that are not all the same. It's not all restaurants or clothing stores or whatever. With the new dance studio, the clothing, jewelry, kind of just adding new stuff.
Anybody else? Tanley, you got anything?
I was just gonna say, just kind of dovetail on the accessibility of like downtown being able to kind of go from A to B within like 3 minutes or 5 minutes walking at the most is really neat.
Okay, and just remember, if you think of something else, you said, and we're on a different subject, go ahead and chime in. That'll be fine. So, okay, let's talk
And
about weaknesses.
Really,
Oh, go ahead.
really quick, sorry, Connie had her hand up for a second.
Oh, sorry, Connie.
No, that's all right. I've just seen an increased collaboration between organizations, like the DEC, the chamber, the school. I've seen that improve over the years.
Yeah, and that's been a real weakness in the past. So that is certainly nice to see. So let's move on to weaknesses. And
One thing
Jenny,
that comes,
oh, go ahead, Kim.
oh yeah, sorry, Jenny's got her list of weaknesses. I know that. I'll let you.
Oh, do you want me to go?
Yes, please.
Okay. Local attitudes, resisting change and growth. Limited commercial lodging.
Limited what?
Um,
I'm sorry.
Commercial lodging or lodging. Yeah. I think there's more Airbnbs popping up. I've heard from a few customers that have Airbnbs, which is cool, but you know, harder to find. Limited river access through the city. Within the city.
Yeah.
And then the last one I have is damage repair from bad press, aggressive behavior, and inciting of violence at marches. We have some damage control to do there.
Yeah, I agree that that was a really good observation.
Okay.
For me, when I see like where our actual like downtown is located, that it's not like the highway drives through our downtown. You do have to turn off the highway and know where to turn off to get to our core downtown. So if you're a visitor, you might not really even know that
Right.
the nice clothing boutique exists. All you see is beer bait and bullets and the grab and go market. So. Weakness is not having, I mean, we keep talking about this big kind of community square for events. And it's unfortunate that we just, other than a grass patch on the, Harvest Market property, that we don't have anything really formal for that. So.
Totally agree.
Sorry, I had to step away for a second, so I don't know if somebody already said this. But I feel like there's a lack of building space for us to have new businesses.
Yep.
Is it my audio? Is it my audio that's messing it up?
No. There's no funny audio, at least on my end. So whatever you guys are doing, it seems to be working. So.
Anybody else on weakness?
So I'm going to mention it, even though I know there's nothing that we can do about it, but it really bothers me that the empty building, that's just an eyesore and just, yeah, I don't know what we can do about it, but that for me is an issue, especially when Taylor just mentioned that there's a lack of space, for new businesses to come in. So.
Which building is that again?
It's the one, I believe it's the one right across from your place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The old Artsmith building.
Yeah.
On the corner.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the one behind me. You're not though.
Oh yeah, that one too. What is that one being utilized for anything?
Well, people live there. We call it
okay.
Bates Motel.
And here's the other thing. I hope this doesn't come across wrong. And I'm all for, affordable living and all that stuff, but I really think that the business quarter there, it needs to be business. There's a lot of living space, which is fine, but they're like hidden, I mean, I have mixed emotions about that one. So I don't know if anyone else feels the same about that too.
So that's an interesting thing that we probably ought to chat about in depth at some point, because the Main Street program really pushes the multi-use. So they want to see business on the first floor, business maybe on the second floor, and living space on the third floor or first and second.
Yes.
And they consider that, the optimal. And what you seem to be saying is, I don't know really if that works.
Well, no, no, that's not what I mean. I think that there are some right now, some living situations that could be better.
Okay.
There's some like businesses in the front and then living space in the back. And I know that there's been some issues with people living with the business owner, so just maybe setting a little bit better standards. And everyone wants to live, downtown or have that, feel for living downtown, but there should be some kind of coolness to it, I guess I would say. Instead of, let's split a building that really could be utilized for an entire business and then, cut half of it off and semi convert it into somewhat of a living space for affordable living. And I just think that living standards for everyone should be equal for everyone, that's what I'm saying. So I'm not saying that downtown area should not have living area. They should, but there should be a certain standard for it, as long as same standard as the businesses is what I'm saying.
So maybe what I'm taking from what you're saying is that maybe a better job, we're not objecting to living space and being downtown, but maybe a better merging of the two so that they cooperate with each other better than they are right now. I know
Yeah.
one of the things that, we have very limited parking on Broadway, right? And so if people are living and they're parking on Broadway and they're using that as their, where they're parking their cars, then that kind of is not, then we have an issue
Mhm.
going on. So maybe some, we can talk about this again, because I think it actually is something we're going to need to spend time and make some recommendations on. But maybe if there are living spaces, there needs to be designated parking places, or somehow or another how the two live together comfortably, business and residential.
Right. Like, there shouldn't be anything run down. I mean, everything needs to be presentable and in good condition. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay.
Well, parking has always been a problem downtown for events or anything, just limited parking.
Parking. So that's a good one, Connie.
Would a
I think,
possible
the
solution?
city improved
sorry.
that. No,
Sorry.
I mean, the city improved that parking spot across from the fire department, which is a great start, but I think
Mhm.
we need to look at some other opportunities maybe.
Yeah. Well, we don't have to solve anything today. We're just getting it back up on the board. So, all right, well, let's move away from weakness and go to opportunities. And maybe that's an opportunity, is better coordination of residential and business. What are some other opportunities we have?
The river.
River. I'll tell you, I've been on a nonstop letter writing campaign about opening up that Clackamas River. And I just get the same stuff back, is like, we're doing the best we can. I'm like, no, you're not.
Well, I think a real key element will be if we can ever get any kind of a bridge across to connect with MacIver and that part over there to make a big loop for runners, bikers, walkers. bring them through downtown, you know.
Okay,
We've been
that's a good
thinking
one. I'm
about
gonna
that
put that
for
up.
15 years.
Yeah.
I think we have an opportunity to take some of these empty buildings and create some new retail spaces. I know.
Well, and
Yeah,
maybe in those
I
empty,
think you're right there.
maybe in
Go
those
ahead,
empty
Connie.
spaces, if we could utilize empty spaces like as a pop-up endeavor for a few months, or just an incubator, you know how they call those businesses, you just want to give a chance to,
Yeah.
if we could work something out with the owners to use them for that.
You know what? I actually wrote a letter to the city and said that I would buy some of the space that was available if the city would help me do a business incubator with some rent subsidy for the new businesses. And but I never heard back from them. So
How long ago was that?
it was at least more
How long?
than, it might have been 2 years ago, a year or 2 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think with, is it Jason or Justin Gates on the city council? He seems to be a really interested liaison, and I think maybe we could start including him on some of our conversations. He seems
Okay,
to be
so
a very good advocate for us.
So I'm going to put business incubator on here as a, I mean, that would be super cool to have a business incubator. I'm going to, as a participant also, I'm going to say that one of the things that Matt was talking about focusing on a specific thing, like focusing on the river, I have some pros and cons on that particular topic, but I think that it would be really cool to have more, what do you call it? Collectibles and antique presence in the downtown. Those things seem to really draw people in. And so I'll put the antiques. And then one other thing I'm going to put in as a participant is that one of the reasons that that place behind us is let go the way is because my understanding is that the owner of that building wants the city to purchase it. And the more of it's an eyesore, the more it bugs everybody. And so I think the city at some point should just go ahead and knuckle under and buy it and make that town square that we're all talking about. And so I'll just
Great
say,
idea.
Is that, are we talking about like McRae's
yeah,
hotel when we're talking about the eyesore? Okay, sorry, I don't want to put names on things, but okay.
absolutely put a name on that one. So,
Okay.
yeah. So I don't think he's ever going to do anything at all to improve that real estate because that's not his end goal.
Yeah. Interesting. That's good insight.
I think another opportunity is the biking community. We have
Biking?
a lot of people that come out here to go, the biking community. Yeah, that go upriver, they go over to Detroit, they just drive around the area or ride around the area. So I think that's something we've been trying to work on because we have the plaza there, the bike station, but I think we need to tap into that some more.
Okay.
And to kind of piggyback on that too, that was one thing on my list for opportunities was the Springwater Trail, potential of that connection happening all the way out to Estacada.
I think that's on the plan. I don't know how soon, but that is the ultimate goal, I believe.
Yeah, I think you're right on that one. So, okay, let's go to threats. And again, if anybody has anything they want to throw up here, go ahead. So threats.
Infrastructure of roads and septic.
Very good.
That's a good one.
And the other one I had was political leadership and rogue community groups that do not represent the majority.
I'm going to throw in wildfires because that's been something that's been crippling our community for a while now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Speaking of opening the river, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think there's also an opportunity there to have tours, educating people on the benefit and also the downside of wildfires. The Forest Service is all up there, so it probably wouldn't be something we could really get involved in, but there's such a learning opportunity out there to tell people, defensible space and fire prevention and working together. We have MacIver Park, great educational area also.
Any other threats?
I feel like one threat, and maybe it goes in a different category. Sorry, that's so loud. Is the lack of ownership from business owners in total in town. I know there's a lot that are not on board with doing things to get more people involved, or in helping one another out in terms of like, oh, hey, have you gone over to the bakery, or have you been over to Taylor's clothing boutique or whatever? I feel like sometimes we're our own worst enemies against each other by not banding together to help each other out.
So let's put that as a threat, but let's also stick it over here on opportunity. So more cooperation between businesses, or more support between businesses.
I'd like to just add a note on that. I was in one of the cafes a couple of years ago, and they were offering bagels. They weren't getting them from Harmony. They were getting them from what's that bagel place in Gresham? And I thought,
Yes.
what is wrong with this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if it's a threat or what, but we just got to do a better job of communicating with locals about what's here. We've been talking about that for years also, but we're just not hitting the market when it comes to bringing. And we have a threat of losing business because they're going someplace else because they don't know what's going on in Estacada.
Yeah, and that's something that we'll be talking about, because there are some very easy, super inexpensive ways to accomplish that, or at least put a big nick in it. And so that's something that we may want to either do ourselves or encourage the city to take a more active stance on. Anybody else got anything on strength, weakness, opportunity, threat?
I don't know if this fits under weaknesses or threats, but just kind of the lack of an affordable grocery store. I'm not sure if that's a downtown issue or just a city issue. But that draws, at least for me, when I go in to do my errands and spend my money, that often draws me away from Estacada and not into Estacada.
Right.
So
Got your wallet out someplace else.
yeah.
Yeah.
Was it in this committee that somebody mentioned that Fred Meyer was looking at Estacada, or was that something I heard somewhere else? Wasn't
I
here
haven't
apparently.
heard that.
Okay.
If you can remember, let us know, because that rumor floats about every few years, and Safeway is one of them, and Fred Meyer is the other one. So,
and the other thing I recently heard was about the building next to True Value. I don't know if I missed it in this committee at all about what that's going to be, but I recently heard that it's going to be a wine bar, which is awesome. But anyway, just so we all are aware, that's something I just recently was informed about.
Okay.
And then just another thought, while I'm unmuted, when we were just talking about, trying to get the word out to even locals about what's in our downtown. One thing I hear a lot from customers is that they live in Eagle Creek. And so they just go the other way, right? Like they just turn and go towards Clackamas. It feels like a long ways to come into Estacada. They do it, but rarely. And so I just thought, I don't know if, can we have billboards out there on the highway? Can we, say it's only another mile, or, like promoting some local businesses? I don't know if that's a city thing. I mean, it seems like a lot of us businesses could help fund that by, purchasing advertisements on it. But I think we're losing like really, really local residents who just aren't coming that extra stretch.
Well, and I go back to what Taylor said a few meetings ago, or maybe just a meeting ago, where she meets people all the time that say, I didn't even know that you were here. I've been in Estacada for almost 20 years now. We've owned that building for almost 20 years, and we still meet people that don't know that there's a brewery in Estacada. How can that even be true?
37 years. Harmony's been here 37 years, and I get that all the time. I
Yeah.
get people who come in and they're like, I have lived here for 20 years and I've never been to this bakery. So yes.
So, okay.
Sorry. Other things for the threats. I'm really hoping that the pandemic is obviously going to be behind us soon rather than later. But I know that that's really affected just foot traffic in general downtown. Like nobody gets out of their cars anymore, and so it's really hard to see what's even there when you're just driving by. So it's easy to miss all of the businesses that are there. I guess the other one that would be a big threat to our downtown area is just the presence of online shopping, for any retailer. So yeah, Taylor and Julie, people spending their money online as opposed to actually going into a physical brick and mortar store. And so I think the opportunity there would be educating businesses, whether you are, a clothing retailer or a restaurant, on how to get more business online with your social media and all of that fun stuff. So,
Okay.
Quick
So
question.
I'm going to put that online as an
Am I
opportunity.
not on mute?
okay.
I'm unmuted.
Yeah, now you're unmuted. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna be old school here. So what happened to, like, with all the families moving in? Do we have a welcome wagon? Do we have, I mean, the city knows people who are moving here. Are we doing our part in informing these new people moving in with all this great information about what the city has to offer?
So
I mean, even doing like
go ahead,
welcome
Aunt
baskets
Connie.
or,
At one point, the chamber was doing a welcome packet, but I think with the COVID, that might have stopped. What we did years ago, and I'm talking 2009 or so, the chamber made up little packets and we gave them to the realtors. So when people came in for an open house or to get a tour, they would get a packet that had all kinds of information about Estacada. I don't know if they're still doing that.
Yes.
I'm also on the chamber board, so I'll find out about welcome packets.
Yeah, that's a good idea to find out, because when I was on the chamber board, we had put in place a Nancy Hoffman, not Hoffman. What's her last name?
Horton.
She actually
Horton.
would physically take those. Yeah, the city would provide us with anyone who signed up for water. And as soon as they started getting water bills, the city would give us those addresses. And then she would go out once a month and hand deliver the welcome packet, which is stuffed with all kinds of, coupons and whatnot, or even just business cards of any businesses that were members of the Chamber of Commerce. So if that's not happening, then we should hopefully we can get that going again. So, okay,
Yeah.
so now we're going to do a really fast exercise. And this time the subject is not the downtown, it's the DEC itself. And we're only going to spend a few minutes on this. And so again, we have our strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat. So what is the threat of strength of the DEC?
Everyone on here has skin in the game.
Okay, skin in the game. And you know what? I think that's super important, Taylor. What you just brought up is that, yeah, we have skin in the game.
We have new people that are interested in doing something.
Yeah.
All of us old folks are dropping off.
As it should be, right? We should.
So should it be, yeah, fresh ideas or something? I don't know. New.
Fresh ideas. And I think we don't come to the table with a predestined orientation. So I think we're open to the process of actually deciding what the goals are, not necessarily based on what's happened in the past. Would you guys agree with that?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Support of local government.
Sorry, say that again.
Support of local government. I know being a commission takes a huge load off of us for doing any of the financials and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So being a commission is a lot better than being a nonprofit on our own.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Okay, let's go really quick to weakness. What do we got that we're weak on? So I'm going to start with saying we don't have our own money.
Yeah.
I feel like
Lack of
personally,
volunteers.
yeah, lack of volunteers too, but I feel like personally, I don't know where we should be getting the money or how to go about accomplishing all the goals that we have.
So you talking about just limited resources as far as like kind of time and volunteers and money and all of that? Or
Any
Personally,
kind
I'm talking about knowledge.
knowledge? Okay.
Yeah.
any other
I just say I like just limited time. I feel like we've already had a few people drop off this commission. And I've heard other indications that people are just really strapped for time. And unfortunately, I think the time that this demands is more than what they outline when you're signing up for this. So just limited time would be a
I
weakness.
think that's the other side of us having skin in the game. Like Taylor said, it's like, that's awesome. And I can see why these committees have sort of historically fallen onto retired people, because we are all so busy.
Yeah, so I will say one thing about that point is that always is the case. And this beginning process is time consuming. There's no way around that. When you get it done, then it becomes very much easier. Your time is being used on very specific things instead of just, I've been on a cajillion government committees. And sometimes one of them is the county economic development. Every time I went to one of those meetings, which I hate getting up in the morning, right? And they were at 7:30 in the morning. So I go to those meetings and it looked to me a lot of times like staff had spent the night before trying to figure out how to entertain us and, just put stuff in front of us. And here we are, going, what do I need this for? And it was just because there was a meeting that was set for that time once a month and they had to give us something to do. So once we get this groundwork done, that'll really point us in, very, very specific directions.
I think another weakness is we try and take on too much. I think we need to focus on what our mission is. And when we do take on an event, we go overboard right from the get-go. We need to just keep it simple, start small. I think you said that earlier. Focus, have an aim and focus on that. We just take on too much.
Yeah. And then I think you also, Connie, along with what you just said, is really, really, really dispassionately have to evaluate the return on investment on anything that you're spending your time and money on. So is there actually some kind of demonstrable result of that activity? And if there isn't, then you have to have the guts to say, you know what, let's not do it anymore.
Well, and I think we tried to do that when we first started doing Uncorked and the Harvest Festival. We tried to say, isn't meeting our mission. And I think we just wanted it so bad that maybe we stretched it a little. And then we went overboard as to what we were doing at those two events.
Yeah.
So I think we just need to be more focused, and that will help, from burnout.
When we get to the point where we're doing guiding principles, that's going to help us a lot, because we're going to look at what our business plan is, and we're going to look at our guiding principles, and we're going to say, does this align? And if it doesn't, somebody's got to pull the plug on it. So, okay, what are opportunities for our group? I would say this business plan, focused business plan.
With all the down, I think there's an opportunity to reassess our volunteer pool and maybe get the word out there about how people can get involved, especially like when it comes to the events that we do, getting them more involved. So,
Yeah. And,
but right now, I don't even think that.
Tagging on to that, Kim. Well, tagging onto that, Kim, I think the opportunity is all the new people that we have moving into Estacada.
New people. New victims.
Families, new victims.
How about threats? We could get burned out. We could not accomplish anything.
Sorry, bad connection here. I'm glad to see you're all here because I think I'm technically the meeting organizer. I thought I had lost you all. So, okay. Anyway.
I think, yeah, there's a chance for a lack of follow through.
Are we on threats now?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry here. Did somebody say burnout on there?
Yep, we did.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we have a threat of not including diversity in our community and our events. I don't know how to put that, but I'm trying to get in touch with the executive director of Todos Judos. Whatever, I can't say that right.
Todos
We have
Juntos,
this huge Hispanic community. How can we make sure what we're doing involves everybody in the community? I don't think we're reaching a lot of folks.
I agree. I don't know where this goes, but I think just going back to like, how do we contact these new people? Because people who live here or who have lived here for a while, we know how to get in touch with them. We just don't know how to get in touch with the new people.
That welcome wagon would really help.
How to reach new people. Okay. Anything else, anybody? This one doesn't need to be fleshed out all that much. So, okay. So we are at 2:30. So do you guys want to take 5 minutes, or do you want to just push on and start talking about visioning?
I vote to keep pushing on.
Pushing on. Okay. In the absence of more voices, we'll go with Kim. Okay. So what I'd really like to do, and I don't know if this is realistic, is to do breakouts. Let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people. I'd really like to do a breakout of either 2 or 3 people. And does anybody know how to do that? And if you don't, then we're not going to do it.
I have never done it. I've seen it done before. But just from what I could see, I mean, I think I'm technically the only one that has a bunch of permissions on this side, and I don't see any options.
Okay.
For
All
that.
right. Well,
sorry.
That would have been cool, because then we could have just had a couple of people talk and then come back and give your ideas. So then everybody's going to have to try extra special hard on this. So if we are thinking down the road, 5, 10, 15 years, then what does our downtown look like? What are its characteristics? What have we as a group achieved? Who's buying things, and what does, the economy look like in the downtown? And this assumes that we have achieved, everything that is our heart's desire. So again, don't restrict yourself on this part of it. We want the vision to be huge.
I personally would love to see downtown be somewhere that's constantly busy, somewhere where there's always an event going on. The businesses are cohesive and always working together to kind of create that kind of environment. I'd also really like to see no empty building spaces anywhere, and everything to have a more updated, cohesive look to it.
That's beautiful. I want to see people. I don't want to see cars. I want to see people out. I don't know.
Okay.
That's just one thing, but
I want a town square.
yes.
Mhm.
Yep.
Be
I
awesome to have
want it to be,
center.
I want it to be beautiful. I'm so afraid. If you've been to downtown Portland recently, I used to love to go to downtown Portland. We've got to really nip anything in the bud that looks like it's getting trashy or unkept. It's got to stay welcoming and beautiful.
Julie, did you say something?
Oh, I was just implying that as far as the town square having like some sort of community center along with that.
Well, we do have a community center, but it's not sure a focus of a lot.
Is it is it a senior center or is it a community center?
Yeah, so there's,
It's not a senior center.
Okay.
That's a
People
market.
still
That's a,
refer to it as a senior center, but it is a community center.
yeah,
that's,
Yeah, it's something we definitely need to utilize. That's
that's
just
an image issue. Yeah.
Mhm.
Because I do think of it as just events that are targeted towards seniors. So, okay.
Yeah, well,
Is it owned and managed by the city? How does that work?
oh gosh, it used to be a board.
I think it's a nonprofit,
I think, yeah,
but I
it's a
think the city
nonprofit.
may
and
own
they
the real
have,
estate. Go
yeah,
ahead.
I think you're right, Dennis.
Yeah, I know that they're organized as a nonprofit, a 501c3, but I believe that the city may own the real estate, or at least the city at one point owned the real estate. One thing about that though, back to what you were saying, Julie, is that the chamber started having events and very quickly ran out of space in that community center. And so it's just not big enough to have any really large events. And there is no place in Estacada that can have really large events. So
What about that Buzzards building? The building kind of over by
Highway.
Campanella.
Used to be the Ford place.
Mhm.
For sale, right?
The Estacada First Baptist Church has a huge fireside room for events, but the downside is no alcohol.
no alcohol.
It's not downtown. Yeah, no alcohol. And I mean, other than wine, I guess, if you
Nope.
really want to stretch it.
Not even wine, I don't think.
Yeah.
No, I
Yeah,
don't
we
think so. No.
We faced that issue at the Springwater Grange. Big space for events, but no alcohol. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, community center stays. So some kind of, I'm gonna not call it community, I'm gonna call it event center. So,
I like that. High quality, tasty food outside of the burger joint. Like,
Yeah. Good point.
okay.
or I should say, no, yeah, more than bar food, but
I'd also love to see more retail businesses.
More successful retail. So I'm gonna throw the incubator idea up there.
I think it's really important.
And I'm also gonna throw antique mall. Up there.
Yeah.
Parking.
Yeah.
Ample parking. So one thing, one thing is, do we kind of want the downtown look and feel to reflect the outdoors, river theme, that kind of thing? I mean, it's already headed in that direction anyway, but is that something that we would want to have put in city code as an example? That any new construction or any anything that requires permits for outside stuff needs to fall into that design design plan that the city may have, or the city actually has a design plan.
Yeah.
yeah. So kind of where I'm stuck, and I don't know where in the conversation this is appropriate, but of like, I understand that there's been this branding thing around the river, and certainly the river is our biggest asset. But there's also this conversation around our arts community that's been here for a very, or that's been a staple of our community for a very long time. And I feel like that just isn't in the design plan on things. And so I don't know if, I guess I'm not sure exactly where I'm going with this thought, but I do feel like we need to like reassess whether everything needs to be river and outdoor oriented, or if we could kind of blend the two of outdoor and artsy together. All I have to say is when I drive in and I look at that new Welcome to Estacada sign, it is the like least enthusiastic sign I have ever seen. I'm so sorry if anybody was behind that. But it says nothing about the personality of Estacada, but it 100% matches that outdoor river theme with the river rock and the wood and everything. But again, I don't think it says anything about our community, so.
Yeah, so one of the assignments
been involved, but
one of the assignments that we had was getting back with our ideas for the tourism. And so just a little while ago, I was driving down a freeway in Nebraska, and they had this gigantic, what do you call them? Archway? Yeah. Across the freeway, announcing that you were going into Kearney, Nebraska. And it was like the most impressive thing. And that was my idea for the tourism, is that we have an archway that has the unwords, whatever they are, unpredictable, untamed, stuff. And that somehow or another, they point people into the town instead of outside of the town, that the signage is much. So I'm with you, Kim. I was happy to see them put the sign up after years and years and years and years of talking about it. But at the end of the day, we thought it was going to be with a fountain and lights and all kinds of, and in the middle of the road instead of over to the side. And that did not happen. And And we have that medium right in the middle. There's so many signage opportunities that we could be doing with that, but none of that happens or has happened.
Originally, the Forest Service and the city were going to combine and work together on that signage, but I think the Forest Service had to back out because they didn't have any funding to offer.
So I apologize. I think that might have been a detour. But I guess
No,
the
but
comments,
it's a valid point.
yeah, some sort of overall visual theme going, I think is what we were trying to add to that visioning statement. So
So I'm going to put my idea of city arch down and then way better signage.
Okay.
Did someone say lodging, like overnight lodging on there? High quality overnight lodging. I think it would be awesome if somebody would like the deep pockets would come along and recreate the old hotel that used to exist in Estacada.
Hey, dream
Years
big.
ago,
Yeah.
I'm not sure what year it was, but the chamber had a contract out to do a feasibility study for lodging in Estacada. And the feasibility study happened just when it was a bad time in the economy, and it showed that we did not have enough business to support any kind of even a small, 20-unit hotel. But if you look at what goes on during sporting events, during school events, during weddings, during funerals, during vacations, and it could be a perfect place for the Forest Service down there, turn that into a hotel. You're right by the river. You could have a small business conference space. That's something that I think is another opportunity, but I don't know, how we do that. But they said we didn't have enough business.
Yeah. Okay, so I will say that there is a very strong and robust citywide downtown marketing campaign. So, and that marketing campaign addresses or reaches both local people and I'm going to pull these out, new residents and also out of town.
So then it sounds like we're starting to answer that question of like kind of who's buying in Estacada.
Mm-hmm.
So to start, I guess, thinking about who do we want to be attracting? I mean, I think we've answered it as far as just like the Eagle Creek folks and those within, the 15, 20-mile radius. But so at least get the Colton, Eagle Creek folks heading our way at a minimum.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think we could dream a little bigger than that.
So one thing that the county really emphasizes on their tourism stuff is that they want overnight stay, but then the only overnight stay that we've ever been able to point to is camping. And so that's always been kind of a shell game with them, where we're trying to convince them to give us money for tourism. And they are saying, okay, well, what about, how is that going to increase overnight stay? And they've kind of let that not push us too hard on that answer. But the fact is that, so I run a business in Estacada, and a lot of people drive out to my business just to go there. And so what I hear and what I see is that there's a huge opportunity for day trippers. But the county doesn't consider that tourism. But day trippers are the people that are coming from out of town that are spending a lot of money, and they're doing things like, renting equipment and eating burgers and drinking beer. And then after they're done eating, they walk up and down the street and they visit the little stores. So I think that day trippers are a market that we have somebody that's trying to get back in, Kim Taylor.
Oh. Oops, let's see here.
Yeah, I don't think you actually are the meeting manager. I think it's Melanie, the city is.
Yeah, I was supposed to be it, but now I can't. It's not showing anybody, or I don't have the option to let anybody in, or it's not even showing me.
Let me see if I can do it, because
Let me call Melanie and ask her to.
Okay.
Got her
I'll
in.
call Melanie.
All right.
No, we got her in.
Oh, great. Okay, Connie, we got her in. Okay, sorry
Okay.
about that.
So anyway, maybe we have some kind of marketing campaign that really emphasizes day trippers, because if we can get them out here, then we can get them to come into the town. But if they don't come out here in the first place, then we don't have that opportunity. Okay, so let me talk a little bit. You guys keep noodling around on things, and I'm going to talk about what the next steps are. So the next steps that we have are to set the guiding principles. And again, guiding principles are things that we want to put in our plan, because those are things that are foundational and they do not change. Guiding principles may be that things like we're only emphasizing Estacada businesses and not Eagle Creek, as an example. Or a guiding principle might be that I can't think of anything right now. I'm sorry, but I'll walk us through that step of things that we want to make sure are cornerstones of our plan. And then we'll talk a little bit about competition for resources, competition businesses, business, and things like that. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what we already have in place as resources and what things we need to put in place. And so those are the next steps of this. What I'm going to do, hopefully, I'm going to have time to write up the vision and just put it in a narrative that we can look at. You guys read the one on the tourism plan that the Tourism Commission did years ago. It's going to look a lot like that. So it's just going to be a picture that we're painting of what our vision is. And we can look at that. And then when you have the vision in front of you, then we're going to go about the process of challenging that vision. Is there anything in this vision that's really doesn't fit? It doesn't align with the other parts of the vision, or we don't think that it's, on second look, we don't think it really is meaningful. And we'll just kind of edit that vision and see. And that's it. So we're not going to go any further today. But you'll hopefully. So here's what I've got stacked up on me, is that I just brought this house or this piece of property in Nebraska, and I'm going back to Nebraska for a couple of weeks. And so,
Oh, wow.
yeah, my husband is from Nebraska, and I just think he needs to spend part of the year there, just to kind of like be in his natural habitat. And so, so we bought this property because property in Nebraska is dirt cheap. And so we're going to move some furniture so we don't have to sit on the floor. And so I'm going to be gone for the next couple of weeks, starting, I think we're leaving the 21st or something like that. So I don't know when the regular meeting is for this group. When would the next regular meeting be?
Yeah, so our meetings are technically always the third Thursday of the month. So our next meeting scheduled for June 17th at 1:30.
Okay. So the question is, since I'm going to be back probably before the 3rd, is whether or not you want to schedule another meeting to continue this work, or whether or not we want to just go ahead and go with that June 17th meeting.
My question is, yeah, to the group is how, time wise, I mean, does everyone need just a little bit of a breather and wait until that June 17th time? I'm getting a thumbs up from Taylor.
Yes, please.
I know it's nice to, yeah, keep this momentum going, but I realize June 17th is really right around the corner as well.
I
How
think
long
it's
do you
okay to
guys book for meetings? How long are the meetings usually expected to go?
I think they're typically an hour and a half
Mhm.
is what like a calendar invitation would say.
Well, what we might want to do is try to book 2 hours for it, but go ahead and wait until the 17th and just have an extra half hour on the end or something like that. If that, or not. I mean, it's totally up to you guys, because you know what? This is important work, but there's no deadline that's out
Yeah.
there pushing us, right?
Yeah. At the same time, I definitely don't want to get to the end of 2021 without having anything accomplished. So
Won't happen.
I understand. So any objections to, or sorry, is everyone on board within making our next meeting June 17th? Or sticking with the original date?
Mhm.
Okay. I don't hear any
June 17th.
objections. Okay. With that, Bennett, would your your portion of the programming, are you sort of wrapped up with that, or do you have more that you want to say for the process?
No, not for today. So what we'll do
Okay.
is we'll launch into the guiding principles and the next parts of the plan
Okay.
next time.
So on my agenda, Bennett, the next piece would have been discussing, sorry, I realize I wrote it on the agenda as an icebreaker activity, but that's not what I meant to say. I meant to say a team building exercise. Bennett brought to the table the idea of spending a little bit of time team building because, sorry, Bennett, you're going to sell it better than me. But we've just done brief introductions. I really know all of you guys as the business owners in town, but I don't know much about your background or what your strengths are, or maybe what your weaknesses are. And so we were thinking that a team building exercise would be a good opportunity to learn more about what everyone brings to the table. So I'm presenting this as, does anyone have any objections to spending a little bit of time at our next meeting getting to know each other?
No, that'd be great.
Okay. Again, I understand. I'm just trying to be really mindful of people's time. So if you think that that's not going to be productive, please just let me know, even on the side, if you have some afterthoughts about it. So, and then I also had on the agenda discussions for the Harvest Festival. So originally, a few months ago, we had sort of gone through a list of the events that the city had done in the past and sort of said, yes, we want to do this, or no, we don't want to do this moving forward. When the Harvest Festival was mentioned, no one on that call was either familiar with it or had attended it. And so we quickly crossed it off the list and said, we're not going to do that moving forward. But since then, Connie One was not on that call, and Connie has been heavily involved in that event in the past. And I have also heard some positive mentions from City Council about, how successful that event is. And so I wanted to bring that back to the table and see if the group was open to the possibility of hosting that Harvest Festival again. I don't know if it would be a 2021 thing or if we'd have to table it for next year. But Connie, is there more that you want to say about the Harvest Festival?
Yep, I
And
do.
sorry, what it brings to our community?
For those of you that never went to it, we had it in the square. We closed off the street right there in front of Key Bank, and we had music. We had a pumpkin painting, pie eating contest, bicycle decorating contest. We had a couple of bands. We had hay rides. It was just fun. We had vendors, we had chili cook-off, and it's one of those things where I think we went too far. I know we talked about having a soapbox derby. I would like to have the discussion at some point, it doesn't have to be now, about bringing back the Harvest Festival, scaling way back on what we did. I'm kind of partial to the pumpkin painting and pie eating, maybe the chili cook-off, but then maybe incorporate the soapbox derby into that. So that would be part of the Harvest Festival. It really was just a fun family event. We had a lot of stuff for kids. That was the main focus. And I would really like to see us, I was going through my notes from 2019 where we had terrible weather and a downpour and all that, but I see where we can really scale back on what we do and still make it a very fun family event and maybe include the soapbox derby. So I would just like to have a discussion somewhere down the line on that.
What's the timing of it? Is it it's in the fall?
Yep. I think we had it September 28th in 2019 from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock. And we did have several vendors. I don't usually deal with vendors, I could see where we could have that. But very few, we pretty much filled up the Harvest Market Square. We had the city stage where we had a couple of bands. The weather was just absolutely terrible in 2019, but in years past it was better, drier, a lot of fun. But again, in going through my notes, I could see where we could really scale back and just keep it more compact and maybe incorporate the soapbox derby. I would just like to see us discuss it further.
Yeah.
We have time.
So I'm thinking, Connie, that maybe at our next promotions meeting, which is not on the calendar, but we do need to get it on the calendar, maybe the promotions committee can re-examine that event, kind of look at the pros and the cons and maybe how can we do it differently or how can we make it better, and then bring that to present that to the board and get everybody's thumbs up or thumbs down on it.
And I'd be happy to write up a synopsis of what we've done in the past and what my views are on the pros and cons and what I kind of envision as a future for it.
Okay, great. Yeah, and I'll follow up with you on that more.
It's
So
also
with
one
that,
of those events that we're kind of dialing in on how to do it. So, another couple of years and it'll be just like the 4th of July parade, really easy to do.
yeah,
Sorry.
great. No, thank you for sharing the background on that. So before we wrap up this meeting, does anybody have any other comments that they would like to make before our June 17th meeting?
Me again.
Yep.
I just want to thank Bennett. I know this takes a lot of time and effort, but like I said before, and what she said, this is a long process to do it. But once you get focused and once you have that plan in place, it's very, very helpful. So thank you, Bennett. I appreciate that. Appreciate what you're doing. Yeah,
and Connie, you took the words out of my mouth because that was the next thing I was going to say. I just wanted to give Bennett a special thank you. This process that you're putting us through is something that companies pay a lot of money for. And I feel like this is a very, very valuable thing that you're bringing to the table. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that publicly. I also want to thank everybody else on this commission. I know you guys are incredibly busy running businesses and taking care of other things in life. And so that all of this does not go unnoticed, and everything that comes out of anybody's mouth always just amazes me, and it gives me goosebumps because you guys all have really great things and great ideas to bring to the table. So I want to thank you for that. And just thank you for making the time to be here. So.
Great job on your part too, Kim. You're doing great.
Yep, I have the easy job. All right.
Yeah, thank you, Kim. It's not easy. Thank you for taking the lead role. It's great.
All right. Well, thanks for having confidence in me. So, with that, I will see everybody June 17th at 1:30. but with the possibility of maybe a promotions meeting before that for anyone on the promotions committee. So.
And if we want to think about doing an in-person meeting, you know, city council chambers are big. And I think we could arrange the tables and chairs if we want to do more of an in-person meeting at some point.
Yeah, I think that that would be wonderful, but what Matt has said are two things. One is the city has not opened that up yet. And also, even if we wanted, because I offered to have people at Fearless, and he said we couldn't even do that because we're a city commission.
City
So,
Commission.
yeah,
Okay. Maybe by June 17th, that will change.
hopefully.
Yeah, I agree, Connie. And I'm chomping at the bit to see all your faces in person. And I will be taking like Matt's lead as far as when we can do that. And so if come June 17th, it's a possibility to be in person, we'll definitely explore that opportunity. So.
Safe travels to Nebraska.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it really is. Our nearest neighbor there is a mile away, who turns out is related to my husband,
Oh my
because
God.
everybody's related to everybody there.
Oh, my. Oh, how fun. I've been there. I've been through there. So been
Yeah.
through Nebraska. Great. Okay, everybody. Thanks.
All
Kim.
right. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy that sunshine.
Thank you.